and we'll go from there. So we will officially get started. Today is kind of a beginning catch-all. I want to make sure you have the basic information, and then we will get into the actual mathematical material. So the first thing I'm going to do is exit out of my PowerPoint and go into the course. So one thing that I definitely need you to know is that the announcements are going to be crucial for me posting information about this course. We use a lot of Excel in this course, and Excel will not be the reason you are not successful. If you are not successful in this course, it's going to be on you. So I will be posting videos. Every Excel assignment we have, I post a help video to help you through. So there's no reason for you to email me and say, I'm struggling with this Excel assignment. All you have to do is watch the video. If you watch the video and you're still struggling, that's a different story. You just need to communicate that. But you'll notice you're all in the session, so that's positive with this live sync information. If you're not in Webwork yet, I recommend you do that soon. But you're going to want to watch this video, Webwork information. All of my videos are pretty short, so you watch it. It's going to tell you how to get into your online homework system. Then we get into the Ivy Learn walkthrough. If you're not familiar with the course, please watch that. Webwork 2. So we have 27 Webwork assignments, and Webwork 2, the last two questions, 18 and 19, are beastly. They're going to be difficult for some of you. And here in this announcement, I have posted 2 help videos, one for each of the questions. So when you get there, if you struggle, again, watch this 2 or 3 minute video, and you will find it helpful. Every time we have a live session, I will post the video under the announcements. So anytime you have a question, before you email me, check the announcements, because if it's a common question, I will have posted a resource for it in the announcements. This is kind of your catch-all, where you want to be for everything. Crucial information. Please check out the announcements. Okay, the syllabus. My contact information, email me any hour of the day. I check it. I respond from my phone. Email is the absolute best way to get a hold of me. As you read through this, because you should, you will see the weights of the course, how things are graded, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. You're going to want to check this out. At the bottom of the syllabus, you are going to see every assignment you have to do in this course. And yeah, there's a lot of them. The ones at the bottom, I think those are hidden, I believe. So you will see you have 4 things due next Monday. And actually, the Webwork orientation is not for a grade, so if you don't do that, it's not going to hurt you. So the first week is pretty light, but you can see week 2, whole lot heavier. Week 3, super heavy. You're doing 16 weeks of material in 12 weeks, so your weeks are going to be a little bit more impactful. This course can be done at a quicker pace. So if you work ahead, the exams are all open right now. So if you set an appointment, you could take all 3 exams, do all your homework, and be done next week. So you can go as fast or as fast as you want. Under the module button, you can see the modules. There are 16 of them. It's a little bit off because this is a 12-week course. So I do highly recommend that you pay attention to your due dates. So like we go through module 1 today, we will get into module 2 and starting 3 next week. So the modules are great because they tell you what you need to do, but you also need to make sure you're paying attention to your due dates. Webwork is how you get in there. So once you get into Webwork, watch the video if you don't know how to get in, because that's super important. I want to point out the videos on the side. So for section 4, this matches up with section 4 in your workbook that you received in the mail. These videos on the side in Webwork go through every page in your workbook. So it's important, right? Because as an online course, you're being asked to kind of teach yourself, right? I'm here an hour a week to guide you, but for the most part, you're on your own for learning the material. So these videos will help walk you through the entire packet. They're not long. An entire section might take you a half hour, 45 minutes. But if you took this class live, that section would take you 2 hours to get through. So you are working at a faster pace online than you do in class because you don't have the discussion piece. So these videos will help you work, get to the material. Now, yep, I figured that was the case. When we get into different sections, I want to point out, if you get a problem wrong 3 times, you have to get it wrong 3 times. For a lot of problems, you're going to see this hint button pop up. And the hint button will lead you to a video example. So this video example, again, short, 2 or 3 minutes, and it's very similar to the problem that you're being asked to solve, but it probably has maybe different words, different numbers, but the process is going to be very similar. So those hint videos will help you walk through your homework. If you get to a problem that does not have a hint, you've gotten it wrong 3 times and you just cannot figure it out, that's when you send me an email. I do believe that the email instructor button works down here. If not, send me an email through Ivy Learn. Tell me what section, right? I'm on section 17, problem number 5. You have to be specific about what question it is, and then tell me what your problem is. I can look in, see your exact problem, and give you detailed feedback. So I'm very, very happy to do that. But if you just say, I'm struggling on this homework, I'm going to respond and say, until you give me more details, I'm not even looking you up, because we are working in 4 different homeworks at a time. So make sure you're specific in what you need from me, and I will be very happy to give you specific information back. But you will be doing a lot of work in Webwork. So email me with questions. It can be a little funky with some answers. So please email me with questions if you don't understand why something is working. Okay, so I think that's it for Ivy Learn. Again, make sure you watch the announcements. All right, back to our PowerPoint. Does anybody have any questions yet? You can either, verbalize them as they come up or put them in the chat box. But if you don't have any questions, I just keep going. So we've talked about the calendar. We've talked about Webwork resources, modules, proctored exams. All right, so this is kind of crucial. Your exams are the only thing that have to be proctored. So you will do all homework, quizzes, projects, discussion boards. All of those things are done at home on your own time, whatever, right? Just by the due date. The exams have to be done at a proctored site. If you're taking your exams at an Ivy Tech location, any campus in the state, I don't need to know about it because I send my papers in, they're already sent in, and you can take the test at any Ivy Tech in the state. However, if you need to take your test somewhere else, a different school, a library, something else, you need to contact me as soon as possible so that we can set something up, because there's a lot more paperwork and I have to do a lot more communication, and we want to make sure we have that done because your first exam is in 3 weeks and we need to make sure we get that ball rolling. So start thinking about where you're going to take your exams. Probably next week I will post a video on how to schedule your exams, because you can't just walk in and expect the exam to be given to you. You have to make an appointment. So I will post I think it's a 1.5-minute video on how to make an appointment in Ivy Learn in case you've never done that before. So that will be coming soon. Expectations. If you actually do the work in this class, you do all of the homework, you do the projects, you show up for your exams, you do the discussion boards, you will not fail. It is mathematically impossible to fail this course if you actually do the work. It's crazy, but I expect you to do that. Now, I understand that you may miss a homework here or there, you might forget about a quiz, you might miss a discussion board. None of that's going to kill you, right? We drop, I think, the lowest 2 discussion boards, the lowest 2 homeworks, and the lowest quiz, I believe. That's all in the syllabus. So if you miss one, it's not going to kill you. If you don't do any projects, it's going to hurt, right? So my expectation is that you're going to actually do the work for this course. I mean, why else would you sign up for it if you're not going to actually do it? So I do expect that from you. What you can expect from me is that I'm going to show up on Tuesdays for this session. And if I'm not, I will provide resources for you so that you do not suffer because of missing the live session. And you can expect timely response to emails. I usually don't wait 40 hours. By policy, we have 48 work hours to respond to an email. It never takes that long for me. I understand that you're in an online class. If you have a question, you need a response in a timely manner so that you can make progress in the course. So if you email me, I try to get back to you the same day. It really depends on when I'm in class, if I have meetings, that kind of thing. But if you email me, I will get back to you as quickly as possible because I understand the frustration of not hearing back. So basically, I will work as hard for you as you work for me. If you slack off and don't do much, then don't expect me to do much for you. It's kind of a two-way street. You bust your tail, I will bust my tail to help you. I just think that's fair, right? So whatever you do, I will do, and we'll go from there. So, all right. That's my 11-minute intro into this course. And now we will get into what this official live session looks like. So most weeks we will simply start with this week. I kind of give you an overview of what assignments are to do. Even though they're all in Ivy Learn, I think it's still important that we have a conversation to remind you. Some of you might appreciate just writing down what to do so you know what's going on, and we can go from there. So we are doing sections 1 and 2 in your packet. I hope that, has everybody gotten their packet? Has anybody not gotten their packet? It should have come in the mail. It's loose leaf, 3-hole punched. It's got a green cover. It says Math 123 on it. It's very exciting. But there are 28 sections in that packet, and we will cover those 28 sections in 12 weeks. Trisha, you did not. When did you sign up for this class? Because usually it takes about a week after. So if you signed up within the last week, it might still be on its way. But if you signed up more than a week ago, you signed up and you haven't gotten it. Okay, let me write you down. Trisha, I'm going to send you an email after class with a phone number. I'm going to have to look it up. But the phone number will be to the book company because we use an independent dealer. All you have to do is call them and say, I'm in Math 123 and I have not received my packet, and they'll get that shipped out to you. So as soon as I can find that book number, I will get that to you. So expect an email from me later today. And if anybody else doesn't have their packet, just let me know and I will get you that phone number as well. So we're going to cover the first 2 sections. In Webwork, there is no Webwork homework for section 1 because section 1 is kind of the intro. So you have your Webwork orientation. A lot of you have already done the orientation, you'll notice that in, I think it's number 6, the very last part of that, the answer is yes. There's supposed to be a thing that shows up in that problem, and it just doesn't. I don't know why. So orientation is not for a grade, but Webwork 2 is for a grade. So that's kind of your first. You have 3 graded assignments this week, Webwork 2, the first discussion board, and the first quiz. So you're going to want to make sure you get all of those things done. Everything in this class is due on Monday nights. So you have until next Monday night at midnight to complete those 3 assignments. So I used to have stuff due on Sundays, but I realized I don't like to work on Sunday nights, and many students like to wait until the last minute. So I changed due dates to be on Monday because I work on Mondays. One thing, I do a time every night, and it varies day by day of what time I no longer will read emails because I have to have a shutoff point at some point. So if you email me at 9 o'clock at night, there's a good chance that my email is done for the night. So don't get cranky when I don't respond until the next day, okay? Because I also have to turn off at some point. So just be aware of that. Okay, and please, 1 email will be sufficient. Last semester, I had a student who emailed me at 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight, and then again at 8 a.m. Well, I was sleeping, and then I didn't get to work until 9, and I only need the email 1 time, not 5. I was not impressed with her. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into this. In section 1, we are talking about what is quantitative reasoning, and this is now where you guys become involved in this course. So if you have a microphone and you want to talk, that's fabulous. If you would rather just type in the chat box, fabulous as well. but I am going to ask questions as we work through things, and I would appreciate answers, right? It'll make the class more meaningful to you if you participate, and it'll be better for everybody. So section 1 is basically all about what is quantitative reasoning. So you're taking this math course, right? You're getting back on the math horse. It's my own words. But let's talk about this quantitative reasoning. What does that mean to you? And this is where you participate. There's no right or wrong answer. Okay, let's break it down. Let's just talk about the word quantitative. What does quantitative mean? Wow, this is going to be a long 12 weeks. Thank you, Jennifer. Trevor, fabulous. Yeah, you both kind of came up with the same thing, which is good. When you think of quantitative, it's numbers. Quantity is in there, right? So when we talk about quantitative, we're just talking about numbers, talking with numbers. All right, so that's the quantitative part. Now let's talk about the reasoning part. What does reasoning mean? Ooh, that's a bad color. Figuring out, good, I like that. Anybody else have a different way to describe reasoning? I like that, figuring things out. Rationalizing, ooh, that's a good word. Finding answers using numbers, Sarah, thank you. Yeah, all right, so we'll go with that. So when you're talking about reasoning, these are all good definitions of reasoning, and really we could add probably 25 more. But anything doing with reasoning is you're figuring something out, you're rationalizing, you're finding an answer. Basically, we're going to talk and we're going to think and we're going to rationalize using numbers, right? Which is what Sarah did with the using numbers. That's the quantitative part. So we're going to do a lot of writing sentences, meaningful sentences. You're going to see that in your workbook all over the place. And these meaningful sentences simply put mean instead of an answer just being 4, you're going to say there were 4 turkeys in my basement. Because if somebody just says 4, it doesn't tell you anything. So we really want to focus more on what does this math mean? What is the purpose of doing this problem and getting this answer? What is it leading us to? You want to be able to explain things to Joe on the street who doesn't know anything about it. So it's really getting to that point where you can explain and truly understand what we're working with. And that's the goal of quantitative reasoning. It's not dealing with super hard math. There will be spots in here that you might struggle with, but for the most part, I like to call this class, this is a real life math class. This is a lot of this math is stuff you're going to see at some point in the real world. But we're really focusing on the understanding of that math and being able to use it in a productive way outside of this, this course. Okay, fabulous. Well, hey, guess what? That was section 1. There are multiple videos. I don't ever do anything in these live sessions that is also in your packet in terms of the examples, because there's no point in me doing the examples that are in your packet that you have videos for already. So everything we do in this live session is new. They're all new examples. So then when you go back to your packet, those are all additional examples. So you have multiple. My main goal for this hour-long session will probably be done closer to 50 minutes most days. But the goal for this is to give you a brief overview and highlight the important pieces. So like next week when we're doing 4 sections, it's very difficult to cover 4 sections completely in an hour. So we do highlights of those sections, and that's what we're going to do today. So we're gonna highlight section 2. And I've actually had a ton of coffee today, so I know I'm talking faster than normal. So we may be done faster than normal. But I am going to ask you to actually, we're going to do some math at this point in section 2. So you might, want some paper out at some point. Your packet may or may not be, packet workbook, whatever you want to call it. It might be beneficial to have with you during this class time. It also might just be as beneficial to just have a notebook to work through. And we'll go from there. So, section 2, ratios. So, again, your participation time. When you see the word ratios, what comes to mind? Fractions. Fantastic. Per something. Okay. I even like that wording because it can be anything. All right, so we can write as a fraction. So I'm just going to go with 2/3 per something. That might be 4 per 1, perhaps. How else can we write fractions? Oh, Jennifer, that's a great definition, really, of how two numbers relate to one another in terms of ratios. That's good. I like the word relate. That's fabulous. Yeah, how two things relate to each other. Good. Because that's really what a ratio is, right? It's showing the relationship between two things. So we can write things with the word per. We can write them as fractions. How else can we write ratios? As a decimal. Fantastic. Okay, so we'll do 1.2. Okay, Jennifer throws in the colons. We have the 1 to 2. I just used the word 1 to 2. Right. And I think that's probably about it. I think we got them all. So you have different options, right? James kind of started us all off with the fractions, and fractions is, I don't want to say it's the best way, but it's the easiest way to deal with ratios to start. It's nice and easy, and if we start, the reason I say it's great is because if we would start with, I'm going to use a better ratio than 2/3 because that fraction sucks. Let's go with 3/4. If I have a fraction of 3/4, how do I change that to a decimal? How do we change fraction to a decimal? This is just a refresher for you. Divide. Fantastic. And it's super important that we always divide the top number divided by the bottom, right? So 3 divided by 4, we end up with a decimal of 0.75. Now, when we have our decimal, that decimal can also be written as a fraction by putting it over 1. So when you think of, we just change it to a decimal, which makes it per something. So really, by starting with a fraction, we can then change it to be 2 of the other ways of writing it, which makes it nice. And we can also change that decimal to a percent. If you recall, to change the decimal to a percent, we simply move our decimal to the right 2 places, or it's like multiplying by 100%. That moves the decimal. So by starting as a fraction, we can then change it to a decimal, we can change it to a percent. And these skills here, being able to move seamlessly between fraction, decimals, and percents, is something that you will be expected to do in this course. Again, you've probably done it before, but math, as we all know, is something that if you don't use it, you lose it. So it's going to be important that if this is stuff that you haven't done for a while or you forget, you're going to need to go back and review. And we do have some pages in section 1 that are review. If you don't know where to find those, let me know. I will send you the direct links because these are the basic skills that underlie this entire course. And if you haven't done them in a while, so you forget how to do them, I don't want you to struggle the entire time because you're missing that remembering piece, right? We can get that taken care of here at the beginning. We can refresh and then you'll be good to go. That's the same with rounding. It's not a difficult skill, but it's one that you don't use on a regular basis. And if you don't use it, it's very easy to forget. So anything that we get going that you're like, man, I haven't done that in 20 years, because I have no idea how old you people are. All right, if you've been out of school for 20 years and you don't remember, there's nothing wrong with that. You just need to email me and say, hey, I do not remember how to round. I haven't done it in 20 years. Can you help me? I will send you resources so that you can freshen up, because it'll make your life easier going forward if you get those basic refreshers out of the way at the beginning. All you have to do is ask. Okay? All right, so that's kind of your initial intro to ratios. We're going to deal with ratios for the entire course. Section 2 is based on ratios, and yeah, they pop up everywhere. So just prepare yourself. So I would like you to kind of train yourself, if you will, that when you see the word ratio, just as James threw out at us earlier, I want you to think fraction. If it says write a ratio, I want you to write a fraction, because that'll make your life easier as we go. All right. So for the most part, I think you're going to watch one video over ratios kind of as a refresher, and then you're going to roll with it, and your life won't be too bad. However, you're going to get towards the end of section 2, and you're going to come into age dependency ratios, which is something that not many people have dealt with, so I think it's important that we talk about it. We'll go from there. One other thing that I need to highlight that I should have said on the last slide, and I didn't, is that with fractions, also remember that we reduce fractions in mathematics. So if you're going to write an answer as a fraction, you need to be able to reduce that. And if you, again, haven't done that in a long time, because I can't tell you the last time outside of teaching math that I reduced a fraction. So if you haven't done it in a while and you need a refresher, all you've got to do is ask. Okay, anyway. Back to age dependency ratios. So here's kind of the biggest piece with this. The age dependency ratios are a way for us to describe our economy in a certain way. The key is people are dependent on others, right, for survival. If you're a parent, you already know this because you have little beings that, expect things from you. So when we talk about child dependency, well, these are children who are dependent on workers to provide for them. And we always want to compare to workers. So in words, a child dependency ratio is children divided by workers. And if you think through this, if you don't work to some extent, you don't have any income. And if you don't have income, you can't provide for your children, right? Because you have to buy them food, you have to pay rent, you got to, buy a bus ticket, whatever you do to support your kids, you have to have income coming in. So that's kind of a way to remember this, that with dependency ratios, you are always comparing to workers, not people, workers. There's a difference because not all people are workers. We want to keep this clear. Okay, so the child dependency ratio is children divided by workers. And now let's throw ages at that. Do any of you know the ages? This is in terms of, I don't know who decided this, but in terms of dependency ratios, what are the age range of children? I'll start you. Starts at 0. What's the oldest age and still be considered a child when it comes to dependency ratios? Anybody want to guess? How old is the oldest child? 26, too old. Younger than 26. 15, too old. 12, too young. 18, too old. 14, there were a lot of numbers coming in. I just saw 14. So from 0 to 14, you are considered a child. As soon as you turn 15, you are part of the working class, which to me is crazy. At 15, I did not have a job. I know a lot of people at 15 did, but I did not. So at 15, you are considered part of the working class. Okay, now let's play the guessing game again. How old is the oldest person in the working class? 64. Very good. If you have your book open, you can always check this out, right? So workers are considered 15 to 64. That's good to know. So and we're going to do examples of these ratios in just a minute, but this is just our first discussion. So child dependency ratios are the children, who is anybody between 0 and 14, divided by the workers, who is anybody aged 15 to 64. All right, so now let's move down to the old age dependency ratio. I need a new color. Okay, so now we're talking about old people. So we have the oldies, and we always compare to the workers. Okay, so we already know the working class is 15 to 64. Hopefully you'd say, well, children, workers, old people. That means the old people are 65 and above. Anybody 65 and above is considered old, right? Don't tell my parents, because they don't like to be called old. So the oldies are 65 and above. Workers, still 15 to 64. So we're always comparing to the working class. And then last but not least, we have what we just call the age dependency. The age dependency is all dependents. So that's the children plus the old people. Ooh, my handwriting is getting worse. I know it's hard to believe. Divided by the workers. So we're going to take all of the people who are children, 0 to 14. Then we're going to add to it the old people, who we know to be 65 and above. And again, we divide by the working class. Okay, so you'll notice that we are always dividing by the workers. These are all part-to-part ratios, which when you watch the videos from section 2, you will have a discussion over part-to-part and part-to-whole. But these are the three kind of new things. All right, now let's do an example. Okay, well, first I should say, any questions about those three dependency ratios? We're going to do a mathematical example and talk through what the answers mean, and that might help you a little bit as well. Okay, if I ever write something, remember I'm writing with a mouse. My handwriting is bad normally, so you throw a mouse, it just makes it worse. But if there's something you can't read, all you got to do is let me know. We'll go from there. Okay, so let's move on to the next page, and let's do a mathematical example. So we have three age groups, right? We have the children, the workers, and the old people. And we're dealing with small numbers in this example because, you know, it's easier that way. And we want to find our three ratios. So we'll start with number 1, the child dependency ratio. So we know that the child dependency ratio is children divided by workers. So what does that fraction look like with numbers before reducing? Thank you, James. There are 400 children. There are 850 workers. Right. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I would rather take a nail and drive it under my fingernail than reduce fractions, right? And I'm a math geek, and I just despise reducing fractions. It doesn't make me happy. So I don't want to reduce this. I don't. But with these numbers, and 400 and 850 are not super large numbers, but they're large enough that this becomes a meaningless fraction. So anytime you have a meaningless fraction, the easiest way to make it meaningful is to change it to a decimal. All right, so simplify it. So can you, at this point in time, change this fraction to a meaningful decimal? There we go. Thank you. So we end up with 0.471. Also, make sure you pay attention to rounding directions in Webwork. Many students will email me with, I don't know why my answer is wrong, and my response is, well, you didn't round correctly. So, you know, details matter. So we have 0.471. All right, now, how is that more meaningful? Okay, well, remember, anything can be written as a fraction if you put it over 1. So I'm going to go ahead and write a meaningful sentence with this. Please pardon my handwriting. But you'll notice that this top number represents the number of children, and the bottom number represents workers. So we could say, there are 0.471 children. Oops, I just dotted an E. And we're talking about dependency ratios. So those children are dependent on one worker. So there are 0.471 children dependent on one worker. And at this point, you're thinking that makes no sense. I cannot have 0.471 of a child. And you would be absolutely correct. You cannot. But that doesn't mean this is not a correct ratio. The one thing about mathematics is that math can be manipulated, and as long as you do the same thing on the numerator and denominator, it's fine. So when I go back to this original fraction and I say, you know what, I want to move this decimal point over one place, I can do that as long as I move the decimal in the denominator over one place as well. So my numerator becomes 4.71 and my denominator becomes 10. Because when I moved it over, there became an empty space, and empty spaces become zeros. So I could write that same sentence with 4.71 children to 10 workers. Okay, well, 4.71, that's close to 5. So you could say, you know, 5 children dependent on 10 workers. Now we can start seeing that it makes sense. And you can go further. You can say, well, what if I move this over 1 and I move it over 1 again? Now I'm at 47.1 children to 100 workers. Same sentence, 47.1 children dependent on 100 workers. So you can manipulate these as long as you do the same thing in the numerator and the denominator. You can do whatever you want. So you want to make sure, especially when you get into Webwork, you're going to be asked, you know, which ones of these 6 sentences are true, and they're going to manipulate the numbers, and you have to be aware of how can I change my fraction and it still be mathematically correct while representing this information. Okay, so if you write one sentence and then you can just change the numbers. Are there any questions on the sentence, how I manipulated numbers, anything with that child dependency ratio? Okay, well, and if that's the case, I would like you to try old age and the age dependency ratio. So I want you to try it. Let's number them 2 and 3. I'm going to give you about, I don't know, a minute, maybe 2. Just type yes in the chat box when you've finished. I don't want to give answers away, but see what you can do with those. Okay, go ahead and try. All right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, good. 4. And anytime I ask you to work on problems, if you get stuck or you have no idea what's going on, feel free to throw in the chat box, right? I'm lost. It's hard for me to tell that because I can't see you. You know, when I'm in class, I can see glazed over looks and people, you know, throwing their pencils, but we have to be able to communicate via the chat box or verbally. Either way is totally fine. But okay, quite a few yeses coming in, so that's good. So let's kind of go ahead and just walk through these for the friends of ours who will watch this later. So the old age dependency, remember, is old people divided by workers. So let's start with, can somebody just give me the fraction to start? All right, so we have 220 over 850. And again, semi-large numbers make it meaningless, so we go ahead and change that to a decimal. We have a 0.259. I think you just had a typo there, Trevor. So 0.259. So we could say, oh, out of 10. Very good, very good. So 0.259 old people are dependent on each worker, or as Trevor did, 2.59 old people are dependent on 10 workers. Good. Manipulation is fabulous in mathematics, not in real life. All right. Excellent. And now let's go ahead and jump down to age dependency. So now we have the child's or children plus the old people divided by the workers. Can I get a fraction, please? 620 over 850. For a dependency ratio as a decimal of 729. Very good. So there's 0.729 dependence on each worker, or 7.29 dependence on every 10 workers, depending on how you look at it. So in general, as a community, you would like a low dependency ratio, because the lower the dependency ratio, really the less people you're supporting. So there's more free money in the economy. Think of that in terms of having children. If you have 10 kids, you're probably not going out to eat very much. You're probably not going to the movies much, because who can afford to do that with 10 kids, right? So your money is tied up in supporting your children. Whereas if you have no children, right, you can afford to go to the movies every weekend, or buy new shoes. You have more free money in the economy because you don't have to support children, right? This is kind of just the general thought. So the lower the dependency ratio, the more free money in the economy, which is, I guess, good. Okay, so that's kind of the basics of dependency ratios, which is generally the new thing in this section. Do not think that because you watched this live session today that you can jump into the Webwork and do all of the homework. You might be able to, but if it's been a while since you've done any of this, you're still going to need to go back and watch the videos that go with the packet. That is, part of the class is watching those videos. Some of them you might be able to skip, and that's fine, but it's a really good place to start. So in terms of how you move forward in this course, it's up to you on what order you want to do things in. Every semester I have students who watch the videos that go with the packet before the live session so that they already have an idea of what's going on, and then we just highlight things here. Or I have students who come to class first because they want to see what I highlight, then they go back and watch the videos. It's up to you entirely what you want to do, all right? But your goal this week, right away, you need to get into Webwork, because if for some reason there's an issue, I have to hand put everybody in, right? So I type in, the usernames, the passwords, all of that stuff. And, I'm a human. I make a lot of mistakes. So if there's a reason that you can't get into Webwork, right? You've watched the Webwork intro video, you're following all of the steps and you can't get in. I need to know that so I can, find my mistake on my end. And then do some homework, right? Get that section 2 homework knocked out. Please pay attention to due dates. You've got a quiz due. You've got a discussion board. Discussion boards can always be done as soon as we are done with the live session. A lot of them talk about the live session. What did you learn today? Blah, blah, that kind of stuff. So I always say, if you have time, as soon as we finish, go take care of your discussion board. It's easy points. I know that some of them may seem like nonsense and they're a waste of time. They don't take you that long, and you get free points there. So everything should also post to calendar. I don't know what that means. Trevor, can you be more specific about that question? The Ivy Learn calendar. Everything should be in your Ivy Learn calendar, yeah. So if we go to the calendar feature, everything should be in there. Yeah, it should be. This course, you are 41B, so you're the green color. So you should have stuff on the 19th. Yeah, so you'll see on the 19th it shows up what's due. So yeah, by using your Ivy Learn calendar, you will see what's going on. Man, 27th is going to be fun. So yeah, it should be posted there. Yeah, very good. You're welcome. We will start, if you ever have questions when we start the live session, I will start with any questions that you have, whether they're in general or specific questions and homework. And then we will always end with questions. So if you have any random questions about, Ivy Learn, Webwork, a specific question, concepts, if you've watched the videos from the packet and I don't talk about something, and then you're like, well, that wasn't clear, you just have to ask, and I can go into further detail into any of that business. So, yeah. So make sure you're emailing me with questions. I am here to help, and I do try to get back to you fairly quickly. Yeah. So after we conclude this session, let me go back into this course. I will immediately, well, as immediately as I can, transfer this into it's a YouTube video, and then I will post it in the announcements. So if you are like, man, I don't remember, she said something about this, you can always go back and look at that and check it out. Or if you can't be here some Tuesday, I always record them, and then I will post them under the announcements so that you can always watch them later. So Stacy has a question. Can you leave Webwork and finish the session later? You have to do it all at once. You can do it later, yes. And actually that brings me to something I would like to talk about. So yeah, you can do one question, leave, come back, do another question, leave. You can do that as much as you want. But when you look at Webwork at the bottom, you will see 3 blue buttons. And this is important. So if you're not listening, listen now. Preview my answer will simply show you what you've already typed in. Worthless. It is a worthless button. Checking your answer will tell you if it's right or wrong. However, it does not record your answer. So even though it will say, yeah, that answer is right, it doesn't record it in the system, and it will, when you log out, it's gone. So submit your answer is really the only button you need to click. Submit it. If it's right, it'll still tell you if you're right or wrong, but if it's right, it will also record it. So I once had a student do an entire section only checking his answers. He got them all correct, but nothing was recorded. So when I went in, because I have to go into Webwork and pull your grade and hand transfer it over to Ivy Learn, it showed that he had a 0. Well, it was his word against mine. He had nothing on paper to show me that he did it. So he said, I did it. And I said, well, if you look at the computer, it shows a 0. You get a 0. So please, please, please hit submit every time. You have an unlimited attempt of tries. You can get a problem wrong 500 times, and you can still get 100% on the homework if you get it right the 501st time. So please, 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 use the submit answer button so that it records in Ivy Learn or in Webwork so you get your points. But that was a very long answer to that question. Yes, you can do it in as many short sessions as you would like. Yes. Doesn't it have a check mark next to the questions once it is recorded? Yes, I believe it is. So this is going to have logged me out again. It will log you out after 15 minutes, I believe, of not doing it. So yeah, so right now you can see I have no attempts, I have no points. I don't want to do that many questions. Let's see. Okay, fraction simplest forms. So there's 3/4. 65 divided by 5 was so 13 over 20. Submit our answers. Boom, it's correct. So when we go back to the problem list, you can just see it says I have 1 attempt and I have 100%. So there might be a check mark somewhere too. It depends on the problems, but yeah. So that's how you can know if it's recording. And that's kind of and everybody's problem number 3 could be different because this is the way it works. And you will not have a solution button because you are not the instructor. So I'm sorry about that. So yeah. Other questions about Webwork or this course in general or anything else? All right, well, it's 12:50, so 50 minutes, not too bad. If you don't have any other questions, that's all I have planned for today. Do make sure that you're paying attention to your due dates. And I do recommend starting early, right? Things are due Monday night, but if you email me at Monday night at 8 o'clock, and I'm already on the couch watching the Yankee game because baseball season is here, I'm probably not going to get back to you until Tuesday, and by then it's too late. So if you start earlier in the week, you give me time to get back to you if you have any questions. So it's always better to start early, and if you want to work ahead, you're more than welcome to work ahead. So I'm never offended if people work ahead and finish early. That's up to you. So, okay, any other questions? Otherwise, you're free to log out and be on your merry way. And good luck, have fun. Let me know how I can help you, because that's why I'm here. All right, thanks everybody. And I'll stick around if anybody else has questions, just for a few minutes.